butt kicked, and
Looked over and I was
on
over
a
there
Wednesday, and there you are in the gym. I'm thinking, hey, okay,
hitting
this
some
is
curls.
perfect, man. Meet you at the studio, and let's get a podcast out to the peeps. And with that, welcome back, everyone. Here we are at Flip the Script with Cam, and myself, Dr. J. Joey. And today we are going to, what do you want to touch on? Some sleep?
Let's do sleep, yeah.
Which everybody could probably use a little.
Everyone you talk
more.
to, like, how you doing, man? Oh, nothing, just trying to survive. Everybody's tired.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's energetic, they're not going to say, just trying to survive. They're going to be like, I feel good. Yeah. Their life could be falling apart.
I just got 8 hours in. I feel like Superman,
Yeah,
right?
If someone's got energy and they feel alive, they're going to say they're feeling good.
I heard this quote once, and I thought it was just a bomb. Sleep is a weapon. Now, you just think about that. Ask somebody in the military who got 6 hours sleep and then had to fight the next day compared to the person that got none, right? Cognitively, how sharp they are. So literally, it's a weapon. You are stronger, more mental acuity, whatever comes into the day, right? You are ready to bring it on, take it on. So I thought that was a good quote.
Yeah,
And like I said, most of us haven't been in battle, but take somebody who has been in battle, and they get the rest. Well, you see the same thing right now in college football. You get a bye week, and everybody seems to be a heck of a lot better the week following that, energy-wise, than going into the bye week. And that's what rest can do. But, you know, it's real difficult in this society. We just get used to running on less. Again, the new norm is abnormal. And sleep requires a functioning parasympathetic nervous system. You have your sympathetic fight or flight, which is what our society seems to be running on all the time. The adrenal burnout, the stress, which also affects sleep. And then that's the sympathetic nervous system. That's where the saber-toothed tiger is chasing us. And then in today's society, when we're not under that stressful moment, we fail to calm. So our parasympathetics are not kicking in when they're supposed to, which is typically shortly after dark every night, right? So to up our parasympathetics that allow us to sleep. So there's two types of problems I find in my practice. You got the person who goes to sleep, a couple 3 hours later, wakes up and can't get back to sleep. That is typically a sugar handling problem, an adrenal related issue. Then you have the other person who cannot fall asleep, or what we call they fail to calm. That is usually a mineral deficiency, specifically magnesium, calcium, these minerals that ramp up the parasympathetic nervous system. And because green leafies are not in our standard average person's diet, you can see why the parasympathetics are struggling. So if I have that patient, I might want to work with minerals if they're having a problem getting to sleep. But that person who wakes up at 2 or 3 in the morning and can't get back to sleep, usually we're dealing with a blood sugar issue. They fall into hypoglycemia. The adrenals kick in, bring the blood pressure up. When the adrenals kick in, so does anxiety. Classic, look over at the clock. You realize it's 3 or 4 in the morning, can't get back to sleep. Every 20 minutes, you keep looking at that clock, more anxiety, more stress. Next thing you know, it's daylight. That person, which is our society, because like I write in my first book as well, don't show me somebody stressed. Show me somebody who's not. Might be a lot easier to, well, it is sad much everybody's stressed in today's society. We have to get that under control. That's going to help our sleeping immensely. So we have to address the adrenals. And sometimes we need adrenal support. There's a lot of good herbs out there that help with that. Blood sugar is going to be the key thing. Cameron, as you know, you start getting that blood sugar under control and you become healthy again, we tend to sleep a lot better. So the key to that is protein. And what I tell a lot of my patients, when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, just get up, get you some form of protein, maybe 20 grams, whether it's a protein bar, a protein shake, a boiled egg. Consume that, get the blood sugar back under control, go back to bed. Typically, you'll be able to get to sleep quicker for another few hours. Otherwise, you don't get up and put something like orange juice in there or a shot of Gatorade, because you might go back to sleep short temporarily, but then that blood sugar is going to drop again, and boom, here you are up again. So for me to say, hey, just don't stress, good luck, right? So that's not happening. But understand, try to figure out where that problem is. Am I having a problem falling asleep? Am I failing to calm? Which a lot of us do, because the mind's just running. And with that, again, go towards blood sugar. Same thing with the ADD and ADHD. In a sense, where are we going to look for that? Lack of minerals and polyunsaturated fatty acids.
Yeah.
Give that brain the DHA, let it calm. See, back 1,000 years ago, you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, boom, okay, you jump into a cave somewhere and the stress is gone, and then you just chilled and went, okay, whew, that's over with. We don't do that anymore. Now we put it in the memory bank and we keep bringing it up. Every time something gets quiet enough, like when you lay down to go to bed at night, you start bringing up that thought, which creates an emotion, which then, boom, there goes the adrenals kicking in again, stress, anxiety, whatever, and we just continue to run it over in our mind.
Yeah, it catches
Lack
up
of minerals
to,
to calm down. So try to figure out where this is coming from. Find you a physician who understands those nutritional imbalances and who can determine adrenal fatigue and then how to treat that, and that's a great place to start.
Okay, so going back to, you said the person that is having trouble falling asleep, that's a lack of minerals, right? And so
Typically,
okay.
Can be, yeah.
What about the person that is waking up? I know you said it was a sugar handling problem. Is that typically caused by putting the wrong things in your body, or could it just be a...
Yeah, well, and also what you're putting in before. An example of that's alcohol. A lot of people who are consuming alcohol, whether it's wine or whatever, and they come home, they take the edge off. 7 o'clock, they have a couple, 3 drinks. They go to bed. The alcohol has quieted their mind, right? So they're able to fall asleep. But we're still putting a sugar into the body. So then the blood sugar drops 4 or 5 hours later. Boom, the adrenals kick in. Now I'm awake. So a lot of people will use that alcohol to calm the mind so they're not thinking about those negative things at bedtime. They're using that in place of the minerals to quiet the mind. But it's going to raise the blood sugar. Alcohol does that. It's a sugar, right? So then when that drops during the night, boom, there's the adrenals kicking in. So it depends on, and the same thing will happen with somebody who's consuming a meal or a sweet late at night before they go to bed, correct? That's why what we try to do is if we can get that in balance, and when I get the blood sugar in balance, I'm trying to do that with the protein, more protein in the diet, right? So if we do that and we try to finish that last meal, say by 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and here, once we get that balance, then we're not waking up hungry at 9 or 10. It takes a little time to do that because you have to get your blood sugar back in balance. But when we're dealing with so many people with metabolic syndrome today, type 2 diabetes, then you can see where we know we have the problem because it's manifested to a disease. So you think this person is going to have some sleep issues, and then you throw something like sleep apnea because of these diets, this fat neck syndrome, as I like to call it, and now you got a machine that you have to fight all night while you're trying to get some sleep, while your spouse or the dog have to go sleep on the couch, or you have to go sleep on the couch because somebody's going to get some sleep tonight, and it's probably not whoever's having to sleep with you with that damn machine, right? So this is all, again, these are signs of our symptoms of our time, This is our generation. This was not in the generation 60 years ago. And I think you also found back then, too, a lot of hard-working people. They went to bed when it got dark. You know, there was a lot more physical work being done, I think, then than today. And you went down, and then you got up when the sun came up, right? Today we run a totally stressed out environment, and a lot of people think that it's normal to get 4 or 5 hours sleep. But then again, they consider the rate that they're running as normal. So I love the term. Look at sleep like a weapon. And then again, what we do with lack of sleep, things like attention deficit, accidents, auto accidents, downstream, these can be effect of not being cognitively sharp enough due to lack of Z's.
Well, I think
right?
there was I actually heard this on a podcast, and it was this guy talking about sleep. And I forget who it was. But anyway, he was talking about sleep, and he was talking about how there is nothing. They said if you could take sleep in pill form and it had all the same benefits as sleep, that it would be against the rules to take in every sport, because it would be such a steroid.
Yeah.
Because it is so powerful.
Give you an advantage.
The advantage that sleep versus like adequate sleep versus non-adequate sleep, it is massive. It's so big that it would be like a steroid, but they're like it'd be the best one.
Try to play a sport at a top level today, football or something else, AMA fighter, with no sleep. Good luck.
It's not possible.
Against the person you're, again, like I was saying earlier, like the Warriors, right? It's a weapon. Good point, exactly. So now everybody's pumping Ambien or some other sleep aid, which of course is going to have, we don't even know the effects in the long haul to the brain on that, right? We don't know the side effects of that. Most people, we do know this. Once they start taking it, they can't go to sleep without it.
I have a story about that. I got to tell you this.
Yeah, tell me about
it.
I've got 1,000 of them.
I had a nurse practitioner, and I was like, dude, I'm having trouble going to sleep. This was years ago, and he's like, okay, I'll prescribe you this tiniest little pill ever, so I didn't think anything of it. I took it, and so Dad probably remembers this. We were going to work the next morning. I had taken one, and I had such a hard time waking up. He was like, aren't you up? He's like trying to wake me up, and I was like dead asleep, right? And on the way to work, I actually fell asleep again in the truck. And like we got there, some of the other guys, they were like, what's wrong with him? Like, why is he sleeping? And it was that pill. It was that strong, tiny little pill. So I took a half one next time. Did the same thing. I mean, I was tired well within the next day. It was like noon before I felt somewhat normal. And it's like, now I just take magnesium and I feel great. Right. And it's awesome.
Mineral. So, but like, yeah, could you imagine if you were working with electricity that morning?
Or a crane operator, yes. I'd kill somebody. I mean, whatever, dude. I mean,
so I have a funny story because so with Ambien, one of my one day I had some of the firemen come in from the city fire department there, and you know our city's not it's maybe less active than as far as the firemen's to do than other cities, so we kind of make the joke about it. You know, well, how'd you get a cat out of a tree today? What's going on? So a couple of guys had come in, and I jokingly said, well, guys, anything exciting over your shift this time? And literally, there was a guy in the area that was in the neighborhood, and he was on his riding lawnmower at 3 a.m. with no clothes on, cutting his neighbor's yard, and had no earthly idea that he was doing it. So, and you hear stories about this with Ambien all the time.
Hey, I want some Ambien. You know what I mean?
People who are driving, and you know, you have what they call the Ambien lean, where if you get up in the middle of the night, I hear about people walking down the hallway when they have pictures on the wall in the hallway, and they just take them all down. You get up the next morning and wonder what happened. So, I mean, again, how safe is that? But when these people get on this stuff, and I have some friends I know who were on it, they use their script up before their 30-day allowance, and they're a mess. They're a mess. They're trying to find some other way because they've become so reliant on their sleep aid that when they don't have it, like I was talking about earlier, the adrenals and the anxiety kick up, and they're not going to sleep. And it's a tough life to live that way. And you hear people all the time who will say, "Hey, I got 4 hours in last night. Yeah, I
You know,
feel great."
I used to take that standard process min checks. I remember.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, so what is in that was so amazing? I haven't taken it in years. I haven't really had to, but I remember I took it for a while. I had a buddy that got deployed. His recruiter swore he was going to go to college first, and they were like, "Boom, you're going to Somalia." So I was like, he was, a little anxious about it. I was like, "Here's some min checks, dog," and he was like, "Where'd you get those? Those are great.
Yeah.
Love them." And so, and like his mom was
work?
like, his mom texted me and asked me, I don't know if she ever got them or not, but she's like, "Hey, Hayden really liked those. Where'd you get them?" And so I sent him, your clinic and stuff.
There's about 3 different ones from standard process that we use, and Minchex is not the strongest. There's another one stronger than that.
Oh, wow.
But basically, they're minerals, and we label them as an adult tranquilizer. It calms the body, takes the edge off.
But it doesn't drug you like
it doesn't.
anything.
That's exactly. It's like Xanax without the buzz.
Yeah.
You can actually function on these things. You can pop one every hour if you need to, if you feel anxious with it, and I mean, the proof is in the clinical analysis on when my people come back and say, "Yeah, that's working." And another product that we use that's one step down from the Minchex is Mintran. So again, it's just another form of minerals. Some of them have a little bit more, say, of the magnesium, and then another one may have a little bit more calcium. The other one may be a little bit more selenium. So it just depends on what it is, at what level we're trying to upregulate their parasympathetic nervous system, and that's how we're doing it.
Is there any downside to just saying screw it and going straight to, because you have Mintran, Minchex? What's the top one?
Orchex.
Orchex?
Yep. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to go get some of that, because the Minchex, I can't imagine anything being better than the Minchex. I mean, but that stuff was great. I remember you were like, this is what you said. I can't believe I remember this, because this was like way back. It's like probably 6 years ago. You said, you want to sleep like a baby, take 1. You want to dream in color, take 2. And I was like, all right. So I started taking it and slept way better. And then I take it
that was my experience. And, for some people, they may need 3. Find what works for you. And a lot of times people might need to start off with 3, and they can work their way back down to 2. And I'm at 1. I take 1, and it's giving me what my body needs. Now, if I was consuming enough of the proper stuff nutritionally, is there a chance that I could do without that supplement? Yes, that's the beautiful thing about it. People, when we're supplementing, we're giving the body something that it's not getting, that it needs on a daily basis. So again, like we talked about, sometimes you may need 3. Some, depending upon person's size, it's just like anything else. I tell the same thing with supplementation as I do with medication. There's not cut in stone. You may need X milligrams. Somebody else may need 1/3 of that, depending upon where you are in the level of your parasympathetic function, or of course even your body weight, right?
And isn't it body weight? That's a big thing. I tell people that with creatine. It's like if they say 5 is the standard, if somebody's 6'5" and running 5 miles a day and also doing CrossFit, lifting weights, they probably need more than 5 grams. So what about, can different people's bodies use up more of certain minerals than others? Or is it kind of like I know you said based on size.
And it also depends upon the deficiency, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're taking in a particular mineral and our body's saturated with that particular mineral, then we're quicker to get rid of it via the urine or wherever our elimination cycle is. So a good question, but it just depends on what does your body need.
Right. And that's why getting the blood work.
Selenium, it's going to use up everything that you can give it, right?
So that's why some lab work would be super bent. Everybody should probably get some done.
It's beneficial. Now, one of the difficult things about lab work and minerals are that a lot of times when they're taking it in the blood, for example, minerals are really difficult. I use hair analysis. Why? Well, because this is the buildup over time. So you could consume some calcium on that particular day, go in and get your blood taken, and your calcium may show a slightly elevated calcium level because they're taking in the serum, right? So we really can't get always, and if you're elevated in the serum, it doesn't necessarily mean that your ratio balances are off. That's why I like to use hair, because it gives me a better
taking the
idea.
Average, basically,
now,
right?
I'll give you an example. Calcium is one of these things which is great for sleeping. Minerals, right? Up the parasympathetic nervous system. Calcium is, everybody's on the calcium wagon these days because of its connection to osteoporosis and bone loss, right? Well, I get it. But a lot of the calcium that's out there is unabsorbable. It's the calcium carbonate. Like I write in my book, you might as well lick the sidewalk. Your body's not utilizing this, breaking this down. So what we're finding is that we're calcium dominant, which thickens the blood, increases circulatory problems as well, cold hands, cold feet, things like this, memory, because the blood circulation through the brain. So, but how do you find this? Well, that's where you have to do a hair mineral test to find out, because for me, for example, my calcium and my magnesium were both at a very healthy level, but my magnesium was low compared to my calcium, which we're finding a lot of people in this country are today because of the calcium wagon. And when you think about it, bone loss is not a calcium deficiency, it's a mineral deficiency, because we're looking at 20-something minerals in there. So just to be jumping on the calcium wagon is actually doing us a little bit of a harm in a sense, because we're becoming calcium dominant, and there are associated problems associated with that, right? So that's why I'm not a big fan of blood work for minerals. Okay.
So hair analysis, you said.
Because we want to see what's accumulating over time,
so
months and years.
So how long, does it depend on the length of the hair, or what? Is it like,
well,
takes you back 3 months?
You know, and then of course, here's the big thing. It depends on where you get it, the analysis studied, right?
Right.
I find the best company is out of Texas, but because, of course, the quality of the test means everything. And then they give you different parts of the body where you can take it from. You know, of course, if it doesn't have hair on the head, well, that's not going to work for them, right? So, but yeah, there's certain areas where you tend to get the best readings from. So, but that all, you know, if you get a hold of my clinic, and we can run that from anywhere in the country, send the pack out, explains to you how you do it. When I get mine done, I take it to the girl who cuts my hair and says, hey, I need some off of here. Because if I do it, I'm going to have this big patch somewhere, right? So,
you know what we may do is I may go ahead and do that here soon. And
very inexpensive.
Run it on
beautiful
here.
Way to tell you what's going on mineral-wise and balance-wise, and where you may be overloaded in certain areas. Certain areas like copper and zinc need to be in a ratio balance too, and you could be off. This could be a cause of some health-related problems as well. Very, very good example there, right? Okay. And so if you have these problems where you're failing to calm and failing to get to sleep, we can use some products, but it's really great if I have a pinpoint exactly where those deficiencies are, right? Yes.
Yeah, it's a cheat sheet.
Especially when I'm dealing with things like thyroid problems. There's 5 different types of hypothyroid problems, for example. So it may be one mineral deficiency over the other. So if I really want to spot on regulate a thyroid issue, I need to know where the deficiency is and to what degree. So I'm not just throwing the whole system in there. If they're elevated in relation to magnesium, to selenium, then do I want to drop as much selenium in as I am the magnesium? No, I can fine tune it that way. Mm-hmm. And this, of course, again, when we're running around with this, because we're not getting the green leafies, we're not getting the organic vegetables, and our soil doesn't have it. Do you see where the mineral deficiency? People aren't sleeping. Well, now you can understand physiologically there is a reason why you aren't getting the sleep. Fix that problem and take it out of the stress within the mind. And then if it's the adrenals, you can reboot the adrenals, people. And I don't know of a patient, especially somebody with an autonomic disorder, that does not need serious work to their adrenals. So you address that and then bring a lot of other disorders under balance, right? So, and of course, how are we treating that? How do we treat an adrenal problem in this country? Since they don't teach it in medical school, so they don't even have a ICD-10 code for an insurance company to pay for it for you, usually an anti-anxiety drug. Or, of course, you're depressed because you're stressed out. You can't figure out why. Nobody gets a diagnosis for you. So here, chill out. Take this anti-anxiety, antidepressant. And that's the treatment for burned out adrenal glands in our society, because they actually aren't even teaching it in medical school, because they say that hypoadrenal, low adrenals, don't exist in our society. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Show me somebody who doesn't have that problem. right? Yeah, it's
Yeah, somebody's getting paid off there.
yeah. Show me somebody that's not stressed in this country, please.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll get a little better now we got a new president. But hey, still, for a lot of people, damage is done. You got to start with the adrenals again. Yeah. It all comes down to those little glands that sit above the kidneys. You can live without your thyroid. You can live without your ovaries, ladies. You cannot live without your adrenals. Boom, you're gone. Okay, so we've got to give those adrenals their love.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's kind of, so that's sleep, right? And then when you get some, nothing like it, right?
Yeah.
Nothing like it.
Getting good
So,
quality sleep too.
yeah.
I've had sleep that I got, so, I wear one of those Oura rings when I sleep. And so, I think I got 6.5 hours, but my sleep was way better. And I felt way better.
Quality of sleep.
Quality
key.
of sleep. Yeah. Right. So, and it even breaks it down into, cause it works through these different green and red LED lights or whatever, but it's wild what that ring can do, but it'll track the deep sleep, the REM sleep, tossing and turning, stuff like restlessness,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I've had 6.5 the other day. I think it was night before last night. I got 6.5 hours, and it was a better sleep score than last night where I
Interesting,
got
yeah.
7.5 or
Right.
something. And it was probably something I ate or didn't eat, or how I was on the phone a little bit before bed, or this or that.
What you went into bed with in your head. True point there too.
Yeah.
And yeah, because you hear of a lot of people who went to bed, got out of bed 7 hours later, but every hour they were waking up, rolling over again, and literally looking at the clock. I've only been to
Couldn't
sleep
get
for
into
an
deep
hour.
sleep.
Right.
Your body
Yes.
couldn't do the processes it needed in deep sleep.
And wake up 7 hours later just as tired as they went to bed. And when that's another sign of an adrenal fatigue symptom, right? I'm just as tired when I wake up as when I go to bed. The adrenals have rhythms that they have to go through the day. So we can test those adrenals, and I test them via saliva because you really can't test them with blood, because who's going to get their blood taken 4 times in a day? You have 4 different cycles for the adrenals. So it's easier just to take a kit home, and basically you put in the saliva in a tube, we send it off, we can find out where the rhythms are, and then we can correct the rhythms from there. Beautiful. And also there's a direct correlation between those adrenals and the DHEA, which is the master hormone for longevity. When the adrenals are burned out, the DHEA is going to be low. And I even have some people, when I start supplementing with DHEA, their symptoms of depression gone. So that's how powerful this hormone is. And it's a precursor to all the other hormones. So see how this adrenal issue cascades down to so many other issues as well. So we have to fix our adrenal glands, or at least maximize what we can, because we really can't always change the stress that's in our day. Be nice if we could. Maybe some yoga, some meditation. There are some things we can do. Take a walk, but most people are too stressed to take the time to do it. Yeah. All right, brother. That's a good one now.
That was good.
That's one that affects just about everybody out there, and we know that. So the difficult thing is, again, just finding physicians who understand the importance and the power of sleep, other than here, just take this sleeping pill and knock yourself out. And getting to the cause of the issue is where the health comes from, right? Again, you don't want to be on something that you're on for a lifetime that's having downstream side effects that we're only beginning to uncover. So, again, thank you for taking the time. Spend some time with Cam and I today. And we love hearing from you. If you have a question on anything we went over today, please send us out an email. Opine. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, as we always like to say, right? Have yourself a great day so you're not missing one. Dr. J, Cameron, we're out.